what exactly was happening in the police following the allegations of organized crime running rampant at top levels of the police. It's been alleged that the Minister on Special Leave, that's what I'm calling him, the Minister on Special Leave of the Police, Senzo Unu and others have been associating with the wrong people. There were allegations of a gangster syndicate stretching from Durban all the way up to Gauteng. But that's just one matter, and this is something that has left many people quite perplexed. What has come to light in the city of Ekurhuleni can only be described as horrific. A disgraced suspended acting Metro Police Chief, Julius Mkhwanazi, who ran the area as his fiefdom. The original EMPD police head, Isaac Mapayea, who's facing his own special set of allegations, including rape. A retired municipal manager, Imogen Mashazi, who refused to protect those who came to her for help. Women said to her, "We are under pressure from these guys, and please help us." And, well, she didn't. This is just some of what the commission has heard. So joining us is Chad Thomas, crime expert at the IRS Forensic Investigations. Chad, hi, good morning. Good to have you on 702.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and good morning to the listeners.
Let's go through what we heard yesterday. Now, suspended, he's acting Ekurhuleni Police Chief, Julius Mkhwanazi, been testifying before the commission. What's your take on how he handled things yesterday? I thought he was bumbling.
Honestly, this is a man who in his CV claimed to have undertaken a course at the FBI in 2005 in respect of interview techniques, interrogation, and body language. When one read his body language yesterday, saw the vast consumptions of water, the stretching, the sweating, that was a man who was definitely not very comfortable in terms of the testimony that he was giving.
Right, so we've heard from him, we've heard from Kat Matlala, but I still feel we are not getting the truth out here. Will we get there? And also as well, I mean, I think the bottom line is, Chad, will we see arrests? Because this is shocking.
I think we will, and we've got two parallel processes at the moment. We've got the ad hoc committee from Parliament side, and of course we've got the Madlanga Commission, and then on the peripheries there's other commissions that can in some way be associated with this, such as the Nkabinde Commission of Inquiry into Childcare's fitness to hold office as the Gauteng South DPP. This comes into play, although this was something that was long in the waiting. It goes to some of what was said by Mkhwanazi at that infamous July 6 presser, where he said members from the NPA had been captured or were making decisions in favor of certain individuals. So the main thing for me that's come out of all of this is that Mkhwanazi has been vindicated, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And he came, some say with receipts, some say not with enough receipts, but most of what he said at July 6 has played out, and we've now heard confirmation, verification, validation from third sources, even from people that he identified as being rogue actors, have themselves acknowledged to being involved in, let's call it, less than kosher activities, the likes of Brown Mokgotsi, for example.
Yeah. IRS Forensic Investigations, you guys build cases, you track people down, etc., etc. How difficult is it to build cases after what you've heard? Because there's a lot of testimony, but we need hard evidence. If this has got to go to court, if these people are going to be prosecuted, I mean, what is your take on this? Is this going to happen?
Very valid point, and it's something that came out of Zondo that a lot of the public were unaware of. Zondo made recommendations, and a parallel process was introduced known as the Investigating Directorate, which now has a new name, the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption. And they are the lead investigators into the findings that came out of the Zondo Commission, as well as other issues such as PPE fraud and other issues of corruption around state officials. So everybody thought that Zondo Commission, those findings were binding, and boom, these guys are going to be prosecuted immediately. It doesn't work that way. There, it's on the basis of reasonability. Whereas when you take something to court and it gets enrolled, it has to be beyond a shadow of doubt, and that's because the state is loath to enroll something where there isn't a prospect of a successful prosecution. What's different about Madlanga Commission is we're seeing parallel processes taking place almost immediately. We're seeing IDAC making arrests. We're seeing IPID being held to account. We're seeing the Office of the DPCI judge being brought in. We know that although the IGI of intelligence has been suspended, they still have an investigative capacity and that they are busy investigating. So this is a lot different to what we saw coming out of Zondo, because Zondo we waited till the very end, whereas with Madlanga, things are happening parallel to the testimony that we're hearing.
And something else we do need is lifestyle audits. We need to have a look specifically with the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department officials. What do they have? They were giving themselves salary increases. And of course, you got Kat Matlala. He wasn't doing this for free. This was not a PR exercise, as he said, a marketing ploy. It had nothing to do with marketing. He did nothing for free.
No, of course not. Kat Matlala is somebody that needs to be placed under a microscope. There's a lot of scrutiny in terms of his relationship with various officials, both within SAPS as well as within EMPD. What's very interesting to note, and you mentioned lifestyle audits, is that we started investigating as IRS Vusi Kat Matlala more than 2 years ago in a scheme known as Ride to Own. And this was a scheme where they were using people's credibility to purchase high-end vehicles, and those high-end vehicles would then not go to the people whose names they were in, but to people who may necessarily fall under lifestyle audits, that those vehicles never came up on their names. So they were finding ways in which to get around lifestyle audits by giving people these luxury cars that were actually in the names of third parties who were caught up in this horrific scheme, which is now the focus of a Pretoria Specialized Commercial Crimes investigation by the Hawks. So it's a very interesting dynamic that you raise the lifestyle audit along with Kat Matlala, who's somebody who actually found a way to get around it for those that he was enabling.
Gosh. Have we had enough time to hear everything here? Because it sounds like, chatting to you and talking to you and hearing what you've just said, have we had enough time to actually get all this evidence together, or is this going to take years?
It's going to take time. You must remember that the police has been decimated for 25 years since it was politicized. The very first non-career police officer appointed was in 2000. That's a quarter of a century ago, and that was Jackie Celebi. We all know how that turned out with Glenn Agliotti. We had the Ria Pierre appointment. She wasn't a career police officer. We know what happened with Marikana. We had Becky Kele appointed as police commissioner without any policing experience. He landed up being dismissed based on the police head office lease debacle with Rushabangu, 500 million rand for the Sanlam Minister to become the new police head office. When you see the leadership at the top so fractured, so factionalized, creating what we call empire building, how do you honestly expect the police in the lower ranks to fulfill their obligations and their duties if they're not being led correctly? And that's why we now realizing why crime is such a problem in South Africa. We've got so much good in our country. We have a functioning democracy, functioning judiciary, yet crime has remained at an all-time high. And now we've got the answers to that. It's because there's been this significant lack of leadership.
Yeah, right. Let's talk about that leadership. Minister, I call him Minister on Special Leave, Senzo Mchunu, talking about the national picture. He's been drumming home the idea that the political killings task team needed to be disbanded because there was duplication. That there was no reason for them to be there. Does his argument hold any water?
No, we had the honor of getting to work with members of the PKTT in respect of the assassination of DJ Somebody. We represented the Sefoka family. We also represent other families that have been the victims of assassinations where they've lost loved ones. The Pena family, where Maruma Pena was assassinated. The Mafola family, where Mpho Mafola was assassinated. And I can tell you this is a unit that was wanting to get to the bottom of it. And if it wasn't for the Armand Swart assassination through mistaken identity, they wouldn't have been able to get to where they were wanting to be. Yet people were trying to scupper what they were doing. Whether Senzo Mchunu was doing it deliberately or whether he was receiving bad advice, we need to ascertain, because when he took office, he was saying the right things, he was doing the right things, he convened the very first anti-crime summit, and we all thought, myself included, that he was the right man for the job. Unlike Cat in the Hat, he wasn't looking for sound bites, he was doing things, and he seemed to come across as exceptionally victim-centric. So I'm still at a loss to understand the decision-making that he made, and whether or not it was through influence, or whether he just received bad advice or wasn't up to the job.
Yeah, Chad, I can just imagine your office wall must be this massive spider's web of things that interconnect. We've gone from the Tembisa Hospital all the way through to Ekurhuleni. We've gone from that to national to deputy commissioner. The list goes on and goes on. The commission is facing a deadline to finish. Have they heard enough?
No, most definitely not. Same with the ad hoc committee. They haven't heard enough either. Same with the Nkabinda Commission of Inquiry into Chauke's ability to hold office or fitness to hold office. We need more time. We can't let it drag too long. We're hoping for an interim report by mid-December from Madlanga, which is the most important inquiry taking place at the moment. And I think they'll meet that deadline of an interim report. And they're going to basically say, yes, there was merit to what was said by Mkhwanazi. We need to carry on. This is what's so important, is there's merit to what he said. We've seen it play out in front of us. It's become a soap opera for all of us. And it's important to understand that Mkhwanazi came and he has created this reckoning which was so desperately needed by us.
You look at IDAC and the Special Investigations Task Team. Are they strong enough to pick up the ball? They have already. They've made their arrests. They've had their raids. But are they strong enough to carry that ball right over the try line at the end and continue the work of the Madlanga Commission and make sure that this time around, unlike what happened during state capture, we do see arrests and we do see prosecutions?
If they are fully capacitated, we're going to see a difference. People tend to knock the Hawks, trying to imply that they were meant to be Scorpions 2.0, but they never had the budget, the resources, the capacity of the Scorpions. The most they were ever capacitated was 60%. They backed down to 50% of the required manpower, which means their members are working literally double the amount of dockets they should be. IDAC is now purportedly Scorpions 2.0. They just don't have the numbers of people to be able to effectively make a massive difference. And everybody is fishing from the same pond when it comes to IDAC, when it comes to the NPA, when it comes to the Hawks, when it comes to the police. There's a lack of experienced veteran detectives within these organizations and prosecutors. And they need to start looking for more support from the private sector. They need more budget from Treasury, and they need to incentivize their members to be able to pay them on a level that is consistent with that of the private sector, to be able to attract the right people into the right positions who are also passionate about their country and want to make a difference in this fight against organized crime.
That's exactly what Shamila Batoy said. She's the outgoing head of the NPA, and of course they're looking for a successor for her. Chad Thomas, crime expert at IRS Forensic Investigations, thank you so much for coming onto the program this morning. Your reaction, 702 Land, from what you've heard, where do you think we stand in the process of finding justice?
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.